All right, welcome back, eighth graders. We are on week 2 of distance learning. This is our first lesson for the week. If you are following along with the textbook, we are in lesson 2 of topic 6, and the specific pages are 312 to 317. All right, to start off class, I want to talk about time, and specifically I want to talk about units of time because I love to be as accurate as I can possibly be in a science class. So I want to know how recent something was and how in the past something was. So let me ask you a question. If I asked you, when's the last time that you washed your hands? I hope that you would tell me minutes ago. If it's not minutes ago, go wash your hands. Um, if I asked you, when did you buy your last cell phone? Or when did you get your last cell phone as a present? Maybe some of you guys would say 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Personally, I think I got my phone about 3.5 years ago. But yeah, getting a new phone every minute, that's unrealistic, but getting a new phone every couple years is realistic. What about using your grandparents as an example? What if I asked you, when did your grandparents meet? You wouldn't say, oh, they met like 20 years ago. You might, but an easier way to say that is to use the word decades, like they met 2 decades ago. They've been married for 3 decades. That's in like groups of tens. If we're talking about, 80s, 90s, early 200s, decades. What about ancient Romans, ancient Greeks, ancient Egyptians? We could use the word decades, but it's like a little longer than decades, so I would use the word centuries. Well, what if I wanted to talk about dinosaurs? Do you think I should use centuries, decades, years? Or do you think I might need a new unit of time because dinosaurs existed a way, 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 way long time ago, way before ancient Egyptians, way before any civilization written on paper. So we're going to need a new unit of time for these bad boys. So since I'm going to be working with big units of time, I want to have some way to visually represent this or make a diagram. So I'm going to use a timeline. Are you familiar with a timeline before? Maybe you've made a timeline of your history so far, or maybe you've studied a timeline of someone famous or of historical significance. You basically document important parts of that person's life. Obviously, there's more to a person's timeline than just, being a kid, teen, adult, and then death. But this is just to get you familiar because I'm going to be using that word timeline a lot. So I'm going to start Earth's timeline, all right? And I'm going to choose the Precambrian time to start with. That is going to be the first tick in our timeline. Again, that word is pronounced Precambrian. All right, so 88% of Earth's history takes place in the Precambrian time. Even though this is a ginormous chunk of Earth's time, there isn't really much to look at because there aren't a lot of fossils that exist. So unfortunately, it's a big chunk of time, but not so interesting because we don't have some super awesome fossils to gaze at. So I have the Precambrian, and I know that we are currently in present day. But guys, that's a big, big chunk of time. So I need a way to divide this up because this timeline is just too big and I can't do anything with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide the time between Precambrian era, oops, I gave it away, between the Precambrian time and present day with something called eras, okay? There are 3 main eras that we are going to learn about. So I start with Precambrian, then I have the era called the Paleozoic, then I have an era called the Mesozoic, the Cenozoic, and then I have present day. Guys, these are still ginormous chunks of time. So this is too simple. What if I want to kind of zoom in on the Mesozoic era just because I'm curious about it? Well, if I zoom into that, I'm going to see that I can divide this up further into different parts. I can divide it into the Triassic part. Sounds familiar. Maybe some of you are familiar with the Triceratops. Jurassic Park. Sounds like a movie franchise that was very successful. Also my favorite movie. And Cretaceous. So these things that I divided my one era into, we call these periods. So we can take an era and we can chop it up into smaller pieces, and we're not going to call those pieces eras anymore. Now we're going to call them periods. So I'm really interested in the Cretaceous period. Why? It's because when my guy T-Rex was stomping around. So Jurassic Park lied to you. T-Rex was not around during the Jurassic period. He was actually alive during the Cretaceous period, which is part of the Mesozoic era. Okay, I need you guys to quiz yourself, and I mean really quiz yourself, because it's not enough that you are just listening and watching. You gotta walk away from this video with something or two things that you know more about now because you watched this. So my first question for you is, what is the first event in Earth's timeline? Or instead of saying Earth's timeline, I could also say geological timescale. It's like the same thing. Is the first event A, Mesozoic, B, century, C, Precambrian, or D, present day, the first event? Okay, I'll give you guys 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ding, 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 ding. It is C, Precambrian. That is our first tick on Earth's timeline. Hopefully you did well. Let's see how you do on the next one. I threw two new vocabulary words at you, era and period. What's the difference between an era and a period? Is it A, they are equal lengths of time? Is it B, an era divides the Precambrian time, or the first tick of Earth's timeline, from present day, while periods divide up an era? Or is it C, a period divides the Precambrian time from present day, while, oops, typo, an era divides up periods? So what do you think? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hopefully you said B. An era is going to divide up the Precambrian from present day. We learned about 3 today. And within each era, there will be periods dividing up the era further. All right, guys, I hope that you did okay. Just some things that you should be working on this week. Please let me know if you don't understand the videos. Please let me know if you can't see the videos. Besides the video, and this is on your schedule that I sent home with you, you should be working on your Pearson's interactivity of Very Grand Canyon. And please give me a shout out so I know you're working. I know that you're seeing this. Like, be honest. Is this working? Is this not working? Let's try to work together. I hope to hear from you guys soon. Keep up the good work. Bye-bye.